Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
What's the craziest paranormal shit you ever saw? December 2018 in Florida. I normally work very early in the morning, wake up at 3 a.m. I remember I am actually scheduled for 5 a.m. today, but I still can't fall asleep. I feel really anxious for some reason. My dog wants to go outside for some reason. Weird, because she is normally asleep when I leave. I am outside with her on the patio, enjoying the rare 60-degree temperature on my phone. I feel like someone is watching us. I can't see much in the light from the patio, but I clearly hear the sound of leaves crunching in the distance. I think nothing of it. Probably a possum or some shit. My dog looks over toward the edge of the backyard where the trees and the fence are. I feel a presence and some kind of nervousness. The best way I could describe it is being caught by a parent in the act of something you were told not to do. I spot an impossibly tall black figure near the trees at the fence line, very faintly visible in the moonlight. There's a ton of old trees with low-hanging branches, and a small citrus tree a few feet in front of the older trees. The figure was right behind the small ponderosa tree, in front of the other trees. It's black as the night with very long appendages. My dog whines and suddenly wants to go inside. We go. I can hear leaves crunching outside, like a person walking, but slower. It sounds like they're heading farther away. I convinced myself it was just a hypnagogic hallucination, nothing to worry about. Even if it was real, it sounds like it's leaving anyway. I'm on my phone for a while. I suddenly feel really uneasy sitting in the den with the windows facing the backyard. Side note, on the other side of my fence is a small plot of land and a busy 2-lane road. You can faintly see cars' headlights through the trees. I'm still on my phone in the den until the feeling gets overwhelming. I autistically run to the kitchen. I hear an enormous crash from the direction of the backyard, like two huge pickups crashing into each other. I can feel the impact through the floor. It was so close. Immediately after, I hear someone scream as loud as they could, "What the fuck was that?" They must have seen the same thing I did. I look at the stove clock. I gotta leave for work in 10 minutes. I kinda want to check on the accident. I'm awkwardly pacing around in the kitchen, not sure what to do for a few minutes. I decide to leave for work early and take a detour to drive past the accident. I gather up the balls to look out the back windows before I head out. I see emergency vehicle lights through the trees, but no sirens. Police are always in this area, so the response time is fast, I guess. Weird. I guess they don't want to wake people up. I drive around to the block to see what the commotion is about. There are like 6 police cars and an ambulance. I have my windows down, still enjoying that 60-degree morning. As I drive past the completely wrecked Ford 250 and the fallen streetlights surrounded by an army of police, I hear the guy yell at the officer, "I know what I fucking saw, don't tell me I'm crazy." I'm too autistic to pull over and say anything. They'd probably think I'm crazy too. I continue to work, thinking about that thing all day. The next morning I wake up early and pull my Jeep over where the accident happened to get a mental image of what occurred. Sure enough, my backyard was in the direction directly on the far left from this picture. It looks like the guy swerved right after seeing the abomination walking away from my yard.
Got a bottle of holy water thrown at my head by an unseen force when I was a kid. Admittedly, it was my own fault. It was at my dad's place, who was a strong Catholic. He kept a bottle of holy water on a shelf at the top of his staircase. The bottle was in the shape of the Virgin Mary. I occasionally used to pour some out and replace it with tap water, because I was a dumb kid. One day I was sat at the bottom of the stairs tying my shoes as we were about to head out somewhere. I should point out that the stairs were in an L shape and the shelf was a good couple of meters from the top of the stairs, so if it had just fallen, this wouldn't have played out the same. I didn't hear anything falling down the stairs, but the bottle suddenly flew into the back of my head with considerable force and landed beside me. No damage to the bottle, but my head was throbbing for a good hour. This wasn't the only paranormal experience in my dad's old house, but it was the first time I was actually harmed by whatever force resided in there. Weird thing is, it was quite a new home at the time, like probably built in previous 5 years or so to my dad moving in.
This is one of the most weird things that has happened to me, but not really paranormal, I guess. I was like 21 years old. I was visiting a friend at his home. We talk about shit, eat something, play some vidya, see a movie. Regular bros night. It's late at night, and I have decided to go now. I go to my bus stop alone to take a bus home. I'm just chilling there. Then this woman sits next to me. She's like 20-something years old, black hair, brown eyes, white skin. Not really attractive, but not ugly either. White shirt, jeans. She doesn't talk, just looks towards me at times and smiles a bit. I smile back to be polite. Then she moves and sits right next to me. She hugs my arm really hard. I could even feel she was really cold and trembling. She whispers to me, "Please help me. Please don't let them take me. They are coming. Please help me." I was like, dude, what? Then, like 30 seconds later, a police car stops right in front of us. One of the cops asks me what's my business with this woman. I frankly don't have any idea of what's happening, and I tell them I don't know her. I was just waiting for my bus, and she hugged me. She looked at me like if she was heartbroken and about to cry. Then the cops grab her. She doesn't let go of my arm and hugs me harder. The cops use force. I have no idea what to do or what to say. She lets go of my arm and starts screaming for help. The cops put cuffs on her hands and take her inside their police car. During all this process, she is looking at me. Even from inside the cop's car, she is still looking at me. The cops don't even question me further. They just get inside the car and go. I have no idea who that woman was, or if the cops were really legit cops or not. Any idea what could all this shit have been? I have never ever drunk alcohol or done drugs. Sometimes I feel that I should have helped that woman escape because she looked like she really believed in me, or like she knew me from before. But I'm positive I never saw her before. Did I do wrong or right?
Sadly, I've never seen what I consider more true blue paranormal stuff. But when I was 14, I once had a UFO experience that I'll probably remember for the rest of my life. I was lying in my bedroom watching my TV at around 11 p.m. I casually looked outside into the night sky and saw what I thought was a regular jetliner, complete with the standard stable gold light and blinking red light. Nothing about it looked off. I turned my head back towards my TV, then back outside. This same light was now moving backwards. I thought this was strange, but I thought it was probably a helicopter or something, though this time, I refused to take my eye off it. What followed was about a good 40 minutes of this plane doing some of the most impossible aerodynamic feats. It would start descending at a 45-degree angle, only to suddenly ascend at that very same angle. It would hide behind the tree in my garden, almost like it knew I was watching it. It would suddenly elevate from a still position. It would randomly increase speed, and then halt perfectly without any momentum. In more recent years, I've thought there was a possibility it could have been a drone, but this thing was honestly too fluid and natural in its movements for any drone I've seen. And this was before the popularity of commercial drones, so it would have had to have been a military one. I had a habit of reading abduction stories and shit on Wikipedia back then, so this was honestly one of the most terrifying things I had ever seen. Eventually, it casually chugged along out of the view of my window, and I never saw it again. The following morning I told everybody I could about it. It's not a super interesting story in comparison to some stuff on /x/, but when you have no real belief in any of this as a teen, only to suddenly have that shit slap you in the face, you can't forget it.
So my best friend and her family moved into this condo in Southern California that used to be home to a child predator. My friend and her family moved in 8 years after he offed himself. They had been living there for about 4 months, down on their luck, marital problems, and 4 kids, plus me constantly with them because my own family was screwed up. The only reason they had moved into the place, which had very few prior residents considering its history, was because her mom was close with a Fair, the landlord. Anyway, one night me and my best friend came back to her place after an afternoon out. Her parents are fighting and end up leaving us to watch her little sister and brothers. Now, we had always heard footsteps coming up the stairs, real, and told bogus, half-true ghost stories to our friends, given its history when we would throw parties. Anyway, with her parents out, we decided to watch TV in their room so her siblings wouldn't bother us. It wasn't really late, probably around 9 p.m., but her siblings were asleep on the couch, and I was half asleep on the bed. My friend suddenly grabs my arm and jars me out of my half-dream state. "Anon, do you hear that?" And I shake my head no, but noticing her concern, I tune in to our surroundings. Sure enough, about 15 seconds later, I hear a thud coming from the master bathroom. We look at each other, and then hear once again another thud. She starts searching for her phone to record before realizing that she had left it on the bathroom counter. Another thud. We both begin to panic, now standing up on the bed with our backs to the wall. The thuds sound like things falling into the bathtub, and they begin to increase in frequency. The way the bedroom was set up, when you first walk into the bedroom, there is a half wall that cuts out a short hallway to the master bathroom, immediately to the right. In order to run out of the room, which was longer than it was wide to accommodate said master bath, we had to run right past the door. But after about 5 minutes of increased thuds, we couldn't take it anymore, and finally made a break for it. Immediately after leaving the bedroom, the door slammed shut on its own behind us. We hauled ass down the stairs and called her mom immediately from my cell. We could hear loud thuds upstairs still, and now her siblings, jarred out of sleep, who knew nothing of the history of their place, started to get really scared. She called her mom frantically in tears, and we all waited on the porch for her parents to arrive. Her dad went in all Superman-like, and her mom, skeptically, followed in after. We all waited in the living room, silent, until her dad finally came down the stairs looking irritated. In his North Carolina accent, "Very funny, y'all. Now go clean that shit up, and afterward, Anon, we're taking you home. This is unacceptable for you to be scaring the kids like this." She and I looked at each other, and for a little bit we tried to maintain our innocence, but his drunk ass wasn't hearing any of it. So we go upstairs, where her mom is waiting in the bathroom looking around. Written in her mom's lipstick all over the walls and bathtub, toilet, mirror, etc., is the word "sorry." All of the shampoo bottles, my friend's cell phone, photos, and decorations were sitting in the bottom of the tub. No doubt those were the thuds we were hearing. Her mom looked around in amazement, clearly confused but not angry. She tried to assure her mom that it wasn't us, but her mom just looked around silently for a long time. Finally, she said, "I know you didn't, I never told you that part of the story. I actually just found out myself when Mike was telling the story of this place to a friend of ours. My friend and I looked at each other, confused for a second, until her mom told us that the man had killed his daughter first. In her blood, he had drawn a stick figure picture of them holding hands inside the bathroom and had written the words, "Sorry," underneath it. Her dad made us clean it anyway, but her mom helped us, and we were all pretty silent and scared after that. We would talk about it with her mom pretty frequently, but her asshole dad wouldn't hear any of it. They only lived there for about 6 more months after the incident, and the weirdness was seemingly increasing. Her mom had come clean about sleeping with the landlord, her parents divorced, and she and I went off to separate colleges. She and I still talk regularly about what happened, and her siblings often bring up other weird shit that happened there after the fact. We did some research and found out that the night that happened to us was the little girl's birthday. I never saw any figures or anything to that effect, but I think about that night a lot, even though it was 8 years ago now.
I'm a big believer in aliens and their visitations to Earth. However, I'm not one of those schizos that believes they've seen aliens when they see a light in the sky at night. I'm studying to be an aircraft mechanic, and I'm familiar with all the different light patterns that commercial, general aviation, and military aircraft use, as well as their flight characteristics. I'm also familiar with what satellites and things like meteors or shooting stars look like in the night sky. All that being said, there are 2 times I can say with at least 90% certainty that I witnessed extraterrestrial craft in the sky at night. The first time was at my friend's cabin in New Hampshire. We were all fairly drunk, but we all watched this craft for 5 to 10 minutes. It was a bright white light, similar to a satellite, with tiny red dots around it. The thing that makes me sure it was not a satellite was its movement. It was moving very slow, slower than your average commercial airline, and way slower than a satellite. If you've seen one, you know they go pretty fast across the night sky. Anyways, not only was this thing going at a snail's pace across the sky, it would disappear for about 10 seconds and then reappear behind where it was when it disappeared. It kept doing that for about 10 minutes until it went into a cloud. We were waiting for it to reappear on the other side of said cloud, but it never did. The second one is a bit more brief. I only saw it for about 3 seconds. I was laying on my back observing the night sky with friends. I was probably the only sober one there. So, as I'm looking at the stars, what I can only describe as a V-shaped object darts across the sky, going faster than anything I've ever seen. Not only was it going incredibly fast, it was moving back and forth, forming a zigzag pattern. Now, when you see a shooting star, it's illuminated and leaves a trail of cosmic dust or whatever. This thing was darkened and left no trail. It just shot across the sky, zigzagging, going at ludicrous speed. It also appeared to be at a higher altitude than commercial airliners fly and much larger. The only possible explanation for this one was if it was the SR-72, the new high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft that's in development, that is predicted to be able to reach speeds up to Mach 7. But then again, that doesn't explain the zigzagging it was doing.
Quite a few unexplained instances over my life. Can't be fucked to Greentext. The first interaction with something weird was when me and my sister were young, and our family had just moved to a new neighborhood in Rockford, Illinois. We were the first house in the area, and it was going to be developed over the next 10 years. There was a huge forest behind our house that was eventually cut back for housing, but me and my sister went exploring all the time. Somehow, she ended up walking distractedly into the butt end of a white-tailed deerbuck. I'm not sure how we didn't see it, or why it didn't run. Surely 2 kids, 6 to 10, would make enough noise to scare a deer off. That wasn't the only thing that happened there. Supposedly, someone killed themselves in a cornfield no more than a mile from that house. I only knew of this when I was older, and it might be the explanation for one of the most creepy interactions I've had with a ghost, or what I thought was. I was around 7 in the same house, taking a bath in my parents' jacuzzi in the master bath. The door to the bedroom was slightly cracked as I was bathing, and the window above me was also opened so I could easily hear my parents, my sister, and the first family other than us, neighbors conversing outside on the property line. I looked up towards the door crack, and a figure caught my eye. It wore blue jeans and a blue and green horizontally striped collared polo. I didn't see a face. I jokingly yelled my sister's name, thinking she was spying on me, until I realized this thing is not moving. A few seconds passed, and Jess turned to fear. The figure disappeared without a noise. I quickly finished my bath and ran outside to find no one wearing the clothes I described. The basement in that house also creeped me out. I had a Tickle Me Elmo when I was younger that was placed in a giant plastic tub for storage, as I didn't play with it anymore. One day, I ran into the basement to grab something, and the Elmo doll was half hanging out of the tub with the lid crushing it, while spouting its animatronic voice lines. "Stop, that tickles." I noped out of there. Moving on in life, my family relocated to North Texas when I was around 10. The house we moved into was really nice, and there was a massive field, maybe 100 acres, behind my house. One night I was smoking a cigarette outside, peering into the darkness looking for the usual animals that patrol this area. Coyotes, cows, deer, owls. A bright light caught my eye through a grouping of trees. I inched my way over to get a better look around them, only to see a bright, large white light surrounded by green and red smaller lights. The green and red lights bounced around the central white light and occasionally fluctuated in size to almost match the white light. The red and green lights also would disappear and reappear. There was nothing blocking the view for me, and there were no roads for the lights to be coming from. I'm pretty sure it was aliens. I didn't stay long enough to find out. Once I finished my cig, I went inside. Too bad I didn't have my phone on me. Other small and insignificant things like the deer. I was sitting home alone at my PC after I had taken a shower. My towel was draped over my shoulders like a cape as I sat. I shifted my position, and the towel fell down my back and was now at the same level as the back of the chair. Defying all explanation, the towel started rising up back over my shoulders. I felt a feeling of someone watching over me in an endearing manner. Another one. When I lived in Illinois, I went to a private Catholic school. Every Friday, the whole school went to the church on campus. You could always hear something similar to a cross between a chair being pulled across a laminated floor and a kind of screeching or scraping. The best I can describe it is almost like the sound of the aliens in War of the Worlds. This happened in the basement every Friday, multiple times during the service. No one was in the basement at these times, moving the chairs in the cafeteria for no reason in complete darkness. I remember messing around one night in the basement of the church and opening a fire escape door to see a very dark stairwell that went up. I looked upwards to see where it ended, and as I did so, a pair of glowing eyes stared back at me. Another instance in the church. It was vandalized one day by some kids, and there's a statue of Mother Mary in the front that had been knocked over. Being in band, I had to go to the choir room for practice, which was in the basement. When I passed by the statue that hadn't been touched, nor the rest of the church, I found it was pushed over and the head had perfectly cracked off. When I turned the corner to go down the stairs, I eventually became eye level with the head, and I looked very closely and saw tears running down its face.
Renting an apartment in a new city. It's on the older side, but perfectly well maintained. The landlord insists on an annual lease, but the rent is nearly half the market rate. Things went well for the first 2 months. After about 8 weeks, after sunset, creepy noises start happening. At first, it was creaks and moans, so we assume it's just the old building shifting. By the second week of this, it escalates to very clear footsteps at night, while my wife and I are in bed. We get almost no sleep. By the next week, the footsteps consistently stop right in front of our door. We start hearing doors slamming across the hall, where the bathroom door was. We close all doors at night. The footsteps come to our door again. Our door swings open. Nope. 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 We jump up and turn on the lights. No one is there. We broke our lease and moved out within a week of that incident. My wife is still convinced it was nothing. Thin walls and wind. I'm not so sure.
I've only had 2 such experiences. Here they are, be me, 5 or 6 years old. My room is upstairs. I wake up at night. The bathroom door faces the stairs to the main floor. I leave the bathroom, about to go back to bed. I see what I think is my dad on the stairs. It's a human-shaped shadow, hand on the banister, walking upwards. It's about halfway up the stairs. I wait for what I think is my dad to reach the top. I notice the shadowy figure is wavering. Its edges look rippled and murky. I listen and can hear muffled footsteps. There is a nightlight at the top of the stairs, very faint. I stare at the figure, hoping it will come into the light and I can confirm it's my dad. After a few seconds, I realize the figure isn't actually moving forward. It's just mimicking the motion of walking upwards, tamping its legs on the same 2 middle stairs, and sliding its hand up and down the same part of the banister. A jolt of adrenaline sends me blasting back into my room. The next morning, I ask my parents if either of them went downstairs in the middle of the night and then saw me at the top of the stairs later. They say no and tell me it was a dream. I was fully awake and lucid. That experience still creeps me out. Be me, 7 or 8 years old. My family is on a long road trip. We're staying at some random hotel. My little sister still sleeps with my parents. I get my own huge bed, pretty based. There is a massive mirror hanging on the wall, directly across from my bed. The mirror is low enough that I can see myself lying in bed. I wake up in the middle of the night. I can move and blink. It was not sleep paralysis. I have experienced that. I see a glowing white mass above my head. It looks like a child angel, with gossamer robes that look a little shredded at the bottom. I can't really make out its face, but it has human skin and looks non-threatening. My child mind, raised Protestant, figures it's some rare glimpse of my guardian angel. I feel fine, close my eyes, and go back to sleep. So I've had one horrifying experience and one good one. A little glimpse of both sides, I guess. Later in life, thinking back, the thing I saw resembled the angel from the Muppet Christmas Carol video I watched about 1,000 times. So this experience was probably just me hallucinating that. But I do wonder. Pick related.
My brother and I once saw a UFO directly above us no more than 50 feet. It looked like it was made of brushed aluminum, like the back of an iPad or some shit. just ultra smooth and unnatural for something that was flying, especially considering the shape of this thing. It was not the traditional saucer shape or anything. It was more of a rectangular shape, but it wasn't too intricate or anything. No wings or anything that would give it any aerodynamic properties at all. It had red and white lights on the bottom, and it had a strip of red pulsating light around the perimeter of the entire thing. Also, an inscription on the back of the craft, in slowly pulsating red lettering. My brother said it looked like Sanskrit to him. I say it almost looked like Hebrew. This thing was also utterly silent. It was as if it had no engine at all. The only reason I even saw it was because we were hanging out on the back porch just having a chat, and I decided to look up at the stars because it was a clear summer's night. I got him to draw what he witnessed immediately after we saw this, so I knew I wasn't crazy or anything. I did tons of research, and shared hallucinations are not possible. So I know what we saw that night was for sure a real, physical object in the sky. What I cannot tell you is who was piloting the craft. It very well could have been some absurd science fiction-esque tech the government was testing. But I doubt it. Even stealth bombers are loud when they fly by you. I don't think we have the ability to create an aircraft that is 100% silent when it's no more than 50 feet away from you.
No memes, no drugs, no tricks here. Around the turn of the millennium. At the Adriatic coast, many islands. Ordinary family vacation. Bro, sis, and me. Hanging out on the terrace facing the sea in the evening. Play cards. Sunsets. Bro tells us to look to the sea. Lights moving in patterns above the islands, low to extremely fast speeds. All of us put down our card hands and pay attention to the light for like half an hour. Talk to each other about it, be fascinated. Literally confirming to each other that what we are seeing is paranormal. Pretty nice light show to see, actually. Some lights land, some zip away straight up the sky. We had absolutely no way to record this, since we were poor and the digital era and internet were still years away. We still confirm the sighting among ourselves, but are to share with others. I don't know. It's just that it doesn't make a difference.
Decades ago, in a Brazilian rural area, my dad had a schizo friend at work. He slept under the same roof as him and other mates. The schizo started to have nightmares and make noises. My father was asleep but could sense his friend in his dream. He said there seemed to be something above his friend, piercing his ribs with both ring fingers. He starts to jump on his bed, nearly kicking my dad's head. Dad wakes up feeling a strange presence in the room. Something induces Dad to open the door for no reason. He opens and closes it. He grabs the cord thing that turns the light on. Everyone in the room is staring at each other, and Dad looks spooked. He said there was something weird in the room that left through the door. He opens the door again and looks outside. He sees some steam, Casper-like ghost with faded legs already far away. The thing strangely cares to walk on the pathway instead of just flying away. He realizes the thing also cared to make him open the door instead of just walking through the walls. He said he didn't drink that day. I think the schizophrenic guy triggered a paranormal phenomenon.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.